Ladies and gentlemen, today we're diving into a story that sounds like something your uncle would share he saw back in the day, right after his third drink. Except this time it's real. A 1939 Mack truck, a machine built before most nodded for work, as after 50 years in hiding like it just took a really long nap. And not just any truck, the kind of mechanicals debus de barvorad, historians, spitoleturs start to lating how much they can sell you there. And before we roll into the dusty history books, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because if you enjoy stories where rusty old machines come back stronger than your gym resolutions, you're in the right place. Now, let's rewind to the late 1930s. The United States was slowly climbing out of the Great Depression. Industries were rebuilding, and trucks were becoming the backbone of commerce. Mack Trucks was already known for heavy-duty brutes, machines that looked like they could tow a house while arguing with gravity. But around 1936, the company decided to dip its toes into something lighter. That's when the Mack Jr. appeared, a smaller lineup of trucks ranging from pickups to panel vans rated between 1.5 and 3 tons. Here's the twist. Those trucks weren't entirely Mack-built. They were produced by Rio Motor Car Company, which is like hiring your neighbor to bake a cake and then putting your name on it. It worked. At first, the Mack Jr. sold well in 1936, but by 1937 and 1938, interest dropped faster than a politician's promises after Election Day. So Mack did what any self-respecting company would do. They said, "Fine, we'll do it ourselves." And in 1938, they introduced the Model ED. This was Mack's own light-duty truck, designed in-house, built with the brand's signature toughness, but scaled down for smaller jobs. It still looked like a Mack tall cab, muscular fenders, a stance that said, "I may be small, but I will absolutely outwork you." The Model ED came in 2 wheelbase options, 3,061 millimeters and 3,467, with ratings of 1. It was aimed at businesses that needed reliability without the bulk of a full heavy-duty companies, local tradesmen, and anyone who didn't need to half a bound for mountain but still wanted something that looked like it could. Unfortunately, timing wasn't on its side. By the early 1940s, the world was heading straight into World War II. Production priorities shifted, factories were repurposed, and civilian vehicles took a back seat. Mack built only 2686 units of the Model ED before production stopped. After the war, larger E-Series trucks returned, but the smaller ED quietly disappeared into history. Today, fewer than 1,000 are believed to have survived, and many of those are sitting in barns, fields, or forgotten corners of America, waiting for someone to notice them again. Which brings us to our star of the show, a 1939 Model ED that spent 50 years in storage in Cincinnati, Ohio. And here's the part that makes every collector lean forward. It wasn't rotting away in the rain. It was stored in a dry environment, protected like Grandma's special occasion dishes that nobody's allowed to touch. When it finally emerged, it showed only minor surface rust, a worn bench seat, and something even more shocking potential. Now let's talk technical details, because this is where things get properly interesting. Under the hood sits a flathead inline-six engine supplied by Continental. Not flashy, not overly complicated, but reliable in that old-school way where the engine doesn't ask questions. It just works. After decades of silence, this one came back to life with nothing more than a new battery, fresh gasoline, and a bit of oil in the cylinders. I mean, my friend Timmy once tried to revive a lawn tractor and ended up needing 3 YouTube tutorials, 2 neighbors, and emotional support. But this truck, it just woke up and said, "Let's go to work." The engine sends power through a manual transmission to the rear wheels, delivering the kind of straightforward mechanical connection that modern vehicles replaced with computers and warnings. Assassine for durability rather than comfort, with heavy-duty Kastrajavjushim, Hadrishetizhed 20 billion drives you believe Fordruffs. Braking systems of the era relied on mechanical or early setups, requiring a fit to anticipation. In other words, you didn't just stop, you negotiated with the truck about stopping. Wheels were sturdy steel units, built to handle weight rather than win beauty contests. Dimensionally, the truck sat somewhere between compact and commanding. It wasn't oversized, but thanks to its tall cab and bold design, it looked bigger than it actually was. The layout was classic front-engine, rear-wheel drive, with a simple, functional cabin designed for work, not luxury. Top speed wasn't something you bragged about. It was something you respected. These trucks were built for reliability and torque, not racing. Fuel consumption, let's just say efficiency, was measured more in getting the job done than miles per gallon. What truly set the Model ED apart were its optional features. This particular 1939 example came equipped with heating, an ashtray, a dash-mounted fan, cab lights, air horns, and a crank-out windshield. Today that sounds basic, but back then it was premium. This was the kind of truck that made you feel like you'd made it, even if your business was just delivering barrels across town. And honestly, there's something deeply satisfying about a machine that's simple. No screens, no updates, no mysterious warning lights, just metal, fuel, and purpose. In design philosophy, the Model ED was pure, honest labor. It borrowed Mack's big truck attitude and shrank it into a smaller workhorse. The upright cab, strong fenders, and practical box body weren't chasing fashion. They were built to earn their keep. Bob, my conspiracy-minded neighbor, would say the tall cab was for spotting alien. Against other light-duty trucks of the era, the ED stood out less for sales success and more for character. Rivals often had broader reach, while Mack offered a machine with real brand identity. That is why this Survivor matters. It represents a branch of Mack history that never became common, and rarity has a funny habit of turning yesterday's overlooked worker into today's headliner. And what a charming old brute it is, this 1939 Mack. Feels like the sort of truck that doesn't ask for applause, yet somehow earns it anyway. Today, decent examples. It's around $13,000, 13,000, restored trucks around $37,000. And this no-reserve 1939 Survivor was sitting at $7,950, with 2 days left. Timmy would call that an investment right before buying something with no brakes. So here's my advice. Treasure the odd survivors. Ignore toxic neighbors, and if you find a truck asleep in a dry barn for 50 years, wake it gently. Unlike Timmy after a weekend, it might actually start.